We've reached the champions of this past offseason, and seeing how this team will unfold will be very interesting. On one end, they didn't make bad moves. On the other end, they lost some important pieces in the bullpen from last year and replaced them with their savior in Jim Johnson. And people think that this team is going to participate in October baseball. Let's commence with my expectations. Now, with this roster, their hitting core is, of course, their main strength. However, I would say that their lineup is a bigger strength than their depth. But when it comes to their lineup, they have, of course, Mike Trout and Justin Upton leading the charge, with some more guys like Ian Kinsler, Zach Cozart, Cole Calhoun, Albert Pujols, and Andrelton Simmons mixed in. And so, a pretty good lineup, a really good lineup actually. And I'll give it a grade of a B+. Now, when it comes to their depth, it's decent, I would say. Rene Rivera as a catcher was brought in. Not terrible, but not great either in terms of a backup option. There's Shohei Ohtani, who is listed as a DH, and he's going to DH for opening day. They also have Chris Young and Jeffrey Marte, so decent, as I mentioned before. Now, in the minor league system, they have Carlos Perez, who can be called up in case the catcher gets injured, like Martin Maldonado or Rene Rivera. They also have Chris Carter, and Matt Diaz is a guy that could come up this year, and his late 2018 is his MLB ETA. And then they have Caleb Coart, Nolan Fontana, Emmanuel Burris. He played for the Giants a while back. And then they also have Michael Hermosillo, another guy, another prospect that could come up this year. And they have the one and only Jabari Blash in the minor league system as well. And then there's also Eric Young Jr. and Reimer Liriano. So, it's decent. It's decent depth, not the greatest, but it's not that bad either. It's actually pretty solid. So I'll give their grade for depth a B-. I'll give it a B-. That's what I'll give it. In terms of their rotation, Andrew Heaney is out with elbow inflammation, mind you. And then there's Alex Meyer, who had shoulder surgery in September of last year. He's expected to miss the entire season this year, so likely no option there. But in terms of their rotation, outside of Garrett Richards and Tyler Skaggs, maybe not much really to go around. Hopefully Matt Shoemaker can turn things around if he doesn't get injured again. In terms of guys that are in the farm system, there aren't really top prospects that could be brought up this year. Maybe Nick Tropiano can be brought up if somebody gets injured, or rather if he gets healthy again in his own right. But that's just an if, and he's just a depth guy, not really a prospect. So in terms of their rotation, it gets a C+ for me. It gets a C+ really because of Garrett Richards and Matt Shoemaker, but otherwise it's not a very impressive rotation. Now with their bullpen, it does not get any better at all. They lost some key pieces like Bud Norris, Yusmeiro Petit, Fernando Rosales, and last year it's not like they weren't even above 500 last year. They were close to it, but they lost some pieces with their bullpen, and they replaced him with Jim Johnson and Luke Bard. So I'm not that high on them. Blake Parker is a good bullpen pitcher, and Cam Bedrosian is also pretty good. But otherwise, there isn't much in this bullpen. There's really not much out of here. And so I give it a grade of a C-. I don't think this is going to be a team that makes the playoffs just because they have no bullpen, and that'll hold them back. Similar to another team that I'll be getting to. But in terms of their roster, it's a mediocre roster. It's a mediocre roster. That's what I see it as. Now, I know that this is going to get me accused of hometown division rival and interstate rival bias, but I cannot get behind a team that has no bullpen and an inconsistent rotation. Their depth isn't terrible and their lineup is really good, but that's all that they have to offer, and in a division with the Mariners, Athletics, and Astros, I don't see them finishing ahead of any of those teams. If there's an example to go by, I'll say the 2016 Giants are the example, with the difference being that their rotation isn't as good as that Giants rotation was. But even if Garrett Richards, Shohei Ohtani, and Matt Shoemaker all perform really well, I don't see enough starters to carry this team to enough wins for a playoff spot with the other teams in the AL that I haven't gotten to yet. Even with all that I see happening this year, you can still end the season by saying you were winners in the offseason. The over-under for this team from Fangraphs is 84 and 78. I'm going over by 1 win at 85 and 77 and 4th in the AL West. Let me know if you agree. Let me know why I'm a biased Angel hater. It is a predictions video, and that is what predictions are all about. They're all about debates, because nothing can be proven until it happens on the field. And so if you have rationale, I'll listen. If not, then I'm not taking you seriously. But that'll do it for this Angels edition of 2018 MLB season previews, and so long.